Guys, welcome back to another session of Evony with Genghis on server 68. So I'm just going to continue on with the new generals series, and today there is one that kind of slipped under the radar, and I believe he's actually arguably one of the best siege generals in the game, and people just aren't talking about him, or maybe he's just too new and people already have their current siege generals. But if you have not decided on a siege general yet and you're lucky enough to get this guy, Ramses the second. This guy is good. So I'll just go over the top siege generals. I have a video already on that, and there's basically three truly elite siege generals, and we'll look over them. So there's Matthias. He gives you 20% siege attack here, 30%, 40%, 50%, 70%. You end up with 70% additional siege attack with Matthias. So Matthias is good. Then there is Napoleon, who a lot of people really like, and he should be somewhere right here in Europe. Here he is. So he gives you troop attack 10 and siege 10, so that becomes 30. Then you get 40, 50, 56, and 16 more to give you 72%. Okay, so that's 70% for Matthias and 72 for Napoleon. Then we have who is the top general, Ulysses Grant. So here you're going to get 15% siege attack and 15% if you bring a dragon from the pasture. We'll talk about that. So that's 30% right now. 40%. And there's 0 siege in there. Now you're going to get up to 50%. And then here, you're going to bring that up to 76%. Now, when we go over to Ramesses, however we're going to pronounce him, the second, you're going to get here 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, and a whopping 30 more to make it 80%. So that's the highest percentage you can get in the game. Now, there's more to a general than just that. You also have to look at the base stats, right? But Ramses II has the highest percentage. Now, you have to do this final specialty to get the 30%, which is very difficult to do, and siege is generally the last general that most people will finish the specialties on. So we're talking about truly elite players or people who've been playing for a long time who can do this, or Sir Philip. So now let's compare him to the other generals. So in Europe, we have Matthias. And if you look at Matthias, you really only have to look at attack for siege. The other stuff does matter. HP matters, defense matters, but siege attack is the main driver of how your attack is going to go. So he comes in at 117. And Ramses comes in at 111 and increases at 8.79, where Matthias will increase at 8.82. So they'll increase at basically the exact same rate, and Matthias is going to end up about 8 or 9 higher at the end in attack when you finish fully cultivating him. But that doesn't make up for the extra 10% in the percentages that Ramesses is going to get. So now you compare to Napoleon, and we'll look at the base stats. Napoleon's only a 112 on the attack, and Ramesses is a 111, so they're going to end up almost the exact same. Now here's the big one. This is the best guy, Ulysses Grant. Ulysses Grant comes in at 120. That's the highest rating you can get for a general at the start. So he is going to remain the top general. Now, there's one thing you really have to keep in mind here with Ulysses Grant if you're ever going to use him. right here, it says when you bring a dragon from the pasture. Really, only elite players are going to be able to bring a dragon for Grant. So that's 15% you're going to lose if you don't have him. So, but you can counter that by going with spiritual beasts, right? There's the one spiritual beast. You'll get your 20% here, 20%, but you're not going to get the dragon refines. Because if you look at the dragons and you look at Celtic and you look at his skills, there's no siege on here. Then you look at Fafnir. There's marching siege attack on here. But the problem is, so I can't see his skills there, Layden. But the problem is, most people are going to leave this as a mounted troop dragon. So you cannot move this dragon off your mounted boss to give him this on the siege boss unless you end up with one of these other dragons. You have to end up with the third dragon here, Needhog, level 3, or Layden. And you got to get kind of both of them, because then you could put Layden on archer, you could put Celtic on ground, and then you could put Nidhogg on mount, and then you can do that. Or you get Nidhogg and you put him on mount, and then you end up without a ground dragon unless you are a very good player, and you can get this dragon as well, Amaterasu. So, although Ulysses Grant looks great, and you're like, oh yeah, I add a dragon, I get 15 more percent. Hold on a second. You're not going to be able to use that unless you sacrifice your mounted dragon, unless you're an elite player who can get a dragon for him. That's why so many people use Ulysses Grant as a mounted boss, because they don't want to change the dragon over to a siege boss. So Ulysses Grant is the best, but very few people can use him properly. So now you have to compare all the Ramesses against the other dragons, against the other two main siege generals. So if I look at Ramesses, and I don't know if you can add a siege attack book to him for sure. Increase siege attack and defense by 20%. I feel like you can. Like you will be able to add a siege book to him. Napoleon, we could just look in the rankings here, because there are people who have Napoleon. So let's see, I believe 13, one of our top players on the server, has a Napoleon. Yes, he does right here. And he has an attack book on him, so you can do that. Now, I have Matthias, so I could show you what happens with him, and he can take a siege attack book. So I'm going to assume that Ramesses can take a siege attack book. And if that's the case, I would have to say that Ramesses is now the second best siege general in the game if you finish that final specialty and get that 30%. I would say that he is now better than Matthias, who I think is the second best. Some people think it's Napoleon, but they're close. So all three of them would be close. You can't do wrong with any of them. But Ulysses Grant remains the gold standard, but you have to basically make all-stars and be able to get those the Wonder 3 dragon and the Layden dragon, so that you can then switch Fafnir into a siege dragon and give it to Grant. So let's just look in our general rankings here again. I just want to see if so our top player here, White Mamba, used to go by the name Dirk. He has a Ulysses Grant, and I just want to, right here he does, and let's see what dragon. Yes, so he put Fafnir dragon on him, and you can see it right there. So he is one of the few players who can actually do that. Let's go back and look at 13's Napoleon here. Let's see if he did switch the dragon over. And yes, he did the same thing as well. So we're talking about absolutely elite players who can switch and put a dragon on their siege general. So Let's just pull him up here again, just for everybody to see who we're talking about one last time and put him in your memory. So if you're a new player and you get Ramesses II, then you are doing well, and you have now acquired the best siege general in the game for people who do not make All-Stars or complete Wonder 3. This will be as good as it gets for you because you're not going to be putting a dragon on him. But if you are an All-Star player, then obviously Ulysses Grant is still going to be the way to go for you. But you can't go wrong with any of them. Ramesses is not too much better than Matthias, and he's not too much better than Napoleon. But I would say he's slightly better than them. He'll end up giving you, an extra 5 or 6 or 7% attack, which can be a big difference maker. And plus, it's just cool to have a general that other people don't have. So that is my analysis of the new general, Ramesses II, and maybe on some of the new servers, you guys will start to be using him. I don't think many people will change on the old servers because they already have a lot invested into their other generals, but that's my analysis. This is Genghis on server 68. Like, subscribe, leave a comment.